bit more about that suit to you as we move along here. He's going to be starting off the live demo, and then we're going to be he's going to be passing on a motion to me, and I'm going to be doing some motion editing with that. I'm going to be demonstrating the Unreal Live Link. Just kind of a quick overview of the Unreal Live Link. We're not going to go into too much detail on that. And then finally, we're going to have a Q&A session at the very end. So if you have any questions you want answered, feel free to put those in the Q&A panel of your Zoom webinar panel there. There's a little Q&A section. Any questions you have there at any point throughout the webinar, and we'll get to those in the last little bit, the last 10, 15 minutes of the webinar. Okay, so anything related to whatever we're demoing today, feel free to ask that. And if we don't get to that, you can always email us as well. I'll be available, send you my email later on, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we are live streaming this on YouTube for your information. So you can also go on YouTube. However, if you are watching from YouTube, you won't have the option to do the Q&A. You have to join via the Zoom software to enter in questions for the Q&A. Since I can't answer questions from two places at once, I'm going to be focusing on the questions from the Zoom panel. Okay, and yeah, so we're also going to be sending out a survey for you guys. If you have any comments or suggestions for future webinars or how we can improve previous webinars, feel free to put that in the survey we're going to be sending out to you. And if you fill out that survey, we're going to be giving you a 10% discount from the content store. All right, so make sure you fill that out, check your email, and send it back to us for that discount. And speaking of discounts, we of course have our Black Friday deal in the content store. So if you want to check that out, huge discounts right now for the next week or so here. Black Friday up to 92% off certain content. Highly recommend checking that out for, it's a good time to pick up all the content that you need. So check that out on our content store. You can get there from the website, but if you don't feel like doing that, if you're feeling a bit lazy today, I'll just throw this link in the chat window for you, okay? Hello, Solomon. Hey, guys. Everyone who's joined us today. I need to make sure that's to everyone, all webinars, panelists, and attendees. There you go. Content store. Just for the, if you don't want to go through the website, you can just click that link directly. Okay, so I think what we're going to do is, without further ado, we're going to get started right off the bat here. Again, any questions, put that in the Q&A panel. And this is just the Unreal Live Link page. We'll talk about this a little bit later on. But to start things off, we're going to move over to Daniel, who is from the Noitom studio in Miami. He does motion capture tech and support team. He's from the motion capture tech and support team over there. And he's going to kind of demonstrate a little bit of what it takes to set up your Noitom motion capture with the wireless glove solution. Again, the brand new wireless glove solution, and record that capture in iClone. And then he's going to send me that that file from iClone. And I also have an FBX file set up as well. I'm going to show you how to import using 3D Exchange. Okay, so I think what we'll do is we'll just, if Daniel is there, can you hear me there, Daniel?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good stuff. All right, so let's go. Let's go to share your screen, I guess.
Okay, let's
and then we'll move from there.
All right, let's start that. So just bear with us, guys, while we change. Okay. Share screen. Share. Okay. All right. Let me know if you guys can see me.
Yeah, looking all good to me.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you to Reallusion for this invite. I was super excited to join this live webinar here with Kai and all the team out in Taiwan that wanted to introduce the full spectrum of the motion capture, everything from getting started to iClone. So I'm going to walk real through with the introduction of the system, and let me know if you guys can see that slideshow.
Yep.
Okay, so again,
smiling thumbs up.
All right, awesome. So that's my name is Daniel Quadra here from Miami. I'm the go-to person with support tech and the technology with motion capture. As you guys might know us from the Perception On and Perception On Pro Today we're going to be introducing the new system Perception on Studio. As you can see, it's a whole new system that we're coming out end of this year. This system introduces full body and finger capture, a lot of which everyone's requesting, for the professional use for everything from avatar control to motion capture for a character. Um, as you can see here, this is the system that we have with, the glove, the Perception on Studio sensor, and the Perception on Studio hub. Three systems that come to align together to make this happen. And just to kind of talk about what it enticed to get started with before the motion capture, and this is just to make sure that anyone who has the motion capture suite with you right now have a lot of questions on how to get started. Before you get started, these are two major points that I want you guys just to keep in mind. Location of where you do the motion capture is very important. There's a couple of bullet points here that I put together so you guys can have an idea. I am kind of going this a little bit fast so we can get straight to the point. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to email us from our website. Just a couple of pointers here just so you get started. Location is very important, and the posture calibration is very important. And I'm just going to show you real quick of what it is. So again, just make sure you guys follow us neuromocap.com so you guys can check out our website and our equipment. We do also have a Black Friday sale going on this week, so make sure you visit our website so you could take advantage of that sale. And let me go ahead and jump into the screen here so you guys can see. So this is our new UI, introducing Perception on Studio. This UI is catered to more professional, where we have project-based motion capture. It's using our new sensors. It's also using the new wireless glove that we have with our full inertial system that we have. And to the top right here corner, we have the hub connection. At the bottom, at the next column here, we have different avatars. We can support up to three, maybe, if in a good scenario, we have up to 5 avatars that we can support with this new system. And you can see here my sensor map, which just lets me know what's connected. You can see I have 17 sensors throughout my whole body, and I also have the glove ready to go. When it comes to connecting our technology to iClone, it's quite easy. We're using a BVH streaming. The same concept applies for Perception on 32, Perception on Pro. In this case, I'm going to walk you through how to set up Perception on Studio and get it ready to read into iClone. So we'll go into the settings panel and go into the BVH broadcasting. And the most important points that you just keep in mind is that take your displacement option. Make sure you have the TCP protocol communication open to your IP. You can actually do local IP if you want, and select your port numbers. These are just important information just to make sure so that you can also have iClone read the information from the motion capture. So I'm ready to go with the broadcasting data. Uh, as you can see, I already have the suit connected, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Before I did this test for you guys, I went ahead and looked at my location, and I'm just making sure that this location here is a correct location to do the posture calibration. I can use a phone app just to make sure that there's not too much magnetic interference in the environment. This is an ideal location, so I can go ahead and start doing my posture calibration. So once I'm ready, I will select initiate the posture calibration. For this suit, we just require the A, S, and T pose. For the Perception on 32, you just need to add the steady pose. But for this system, it's much more easier to do the 3. I'll go ahead and initiate, and you guys can see me here. This is all real time. I'm doing the posture calibration. And then the correct posture is always important. Currently, I'm doing the A pose. S pose is like a yoga pose where you bend your knees, and then the T pose. Okay, once that's done, that lets our software understand where the placement of the sensors are on your body. And you can go ahead and move around and just make sure everything's moving correctly. There's no issues with what's going on, and good to go. So I can go ahead now and go into iClone and just start doing the connections. I already have my checklist. I've already done the PVH broadcasting, and I've already done my posture calibration. So let's go ahead and go into iClone. And you can see this is my character right here that I just created with iClone's new add-on that they just added with Headshot. That's me. And then what I had to do here is open Motion Live. In the Motion Live, the first section here, you have different data that you can read from motion capture. In this case, I have perception neuron, and I have the IP address set up to my computer's IP address, which is where you want the data to be read from. I had that pre-selected already for us. It's telling me that there's one actor selected for the body and for the hand. Now I need to assign this data into a character. In the character list, you can see that I have a base mesh here, and I have perception neuron selected for the body and the hips because I want those data to be in synchronized together. So once I hit that, I just press preview and I press spacebar. And then you can see that this is my character live. Okay, that's my character live. And I can start moving around, just kind of going like that, just moving like that. And then you can see even the finger movement is also real time there. Right? Everyone sees that? You see that, Kai? Just making sure.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, cool, cool. Just want to make sure I didn't lose anybody. So this is all full body motion capture. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and do the recording of this. Now you can do the recording if you want, and let me do a quick posture calibration just to make sure all the data is good. I can do the recording side of Access Neuron Studio. And I can do the recording side of iClone. We can do the recording straight inside of iClone so that we can send that data over to your mocap artist, to your tech person to clean up the data. So let's go ahead and jump back into Reallusion's iClone. Instead of hitting preview this time, I'm gonna hit record so that I can send this data to Kai after this. So I hit record and I can hit spacebar. And just mind me, I'm gonna do a quick running and jump. This is real time. Okay, so now I'm gonna do is just hit spacebar, and by just hitting spacebar, I've completed the animation, the recording that I wanted. And let's go ahead and get this ready for Kai. I'm gonna do a quick scrub through to make sure I give him everything's ready to go. So all I'm doing is just doing a quick test, playback, make sure everything's good to go. Okay, how does that look, Kai? Is that good? Just making
Looks
sure
good to
it's
me. Yeah, I can work with that.
okay, cool, cool. Not the best jump, but it's there. So there we go. So I'm gonna do is I'm left clicking on the collect clip. As soon as I do that, I'm gonna right click on this bar, and I'm gonna say add to motion library. At this point, I'm gonna save this file. And this is the file that I'm gonna give to Kai. And let's make sure that this file is ready to go. And I'm gonna pass this over to Kai. Okay, all right. So I just sent it to Kai so he can start working with that inside of iClone. And Kai, just let me know once you get that.
All right, so I'm going to currently download this this file right now and get to it in just a sec here. Okay, let's save it as.
While you're doing it, I'm just going to be entertaining the webinar guys. Just making sure they can
do a little dance.
I know, right?
Dance, Derek. Let's see here. Let me see. I think I got it.
Cool.
Yeah, got it. Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I think did you have anything else to add there, Daniel? Or
no, that's all. As we mentioned, just save your questions for after the webinar, and we'll we'll touch base. If any questions come up, please save them for after the webinar.
Okay, so I'm going to switch over to my screen then, and we'll let you take a little rest there.
Awesome.
Okay, here we go. All right, so you guys should be able to see my screen now. Hopefully everyone's good. I'll just close down Google Chrome now. So I have a couple things set up here. I have the Unreal Live link. You should be able to see iClone on the left and Unreal Engine on the right as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that motion to my character in iClone first, and it's going to like live update in the Unreal Engine. So let's go to the file that Daniel gave me over here. This is the file that he gave me. So all I need to do to apply this to my character. So you say you're working in a group with a bunch of like, motion artists or something, and someone sends you a file like this, an RL motion file. Just click and drag it onto your character, and it'll apply to your character. Okay, so here's the starting pose. I'm going to get rid of this camera since we don't really need this camera in the way there. And for now, I'm going to, you'll see the character live update in Unreal Engine here as well. Okay, so if I scrub through, you'll see Unreal Engine on the right and getting ready for the jump and everything. And I'm going to extend my project length a little bit here. Okay, so that's the live link. So if you have any questions about live link, there's a whole ton of tutorials that are good for live link. And I'll probably send those out at the end of this webinar since I closed my Chrome. But yeah, there's a whole playlist of tutorials that Eddie Christian did, really good tutorials on everything you need to know about live link. And I highly recommend checking those out. And maybe our assistants for the webinar here can put that in the chat window for you guys. I also need to make someone else a host here in just a moment. There we go. Okay, so let's continue. We'll put that in the chat window a little bit later on. So the first thing I want to do is like, I want to edit this motion in iClone. So for now, because we're focusing on the iClone part, I'm going to just maximize my iClone window so you guys don't have to see all the other stuff for now. It's going to kind of be distracting. Okay, so what I'm going to do is first press F3 and go into the timeline here. Okay, and in the timeline, if I select my character, you'll see it'll populate the timeline as long as I have this option selected here, which is object related track. I recommend normally always having this on because generally when you click on something in your viewport, you're going to want to use that in the timeline. So have that selected so I can scrub through the timeline like this. And the only part that I really want is the actual jump. So say I wanted to get rid of all the other stuff. Again, you can minimize or zoom out of the timeline by holding the Alt key and scrolling your mouse button up or down. Okay, so maybe this part here is where I want to start the jump. So he's getting ready. Let's go a little further down the timeline. So again, this will also reduce the size, help reduce the size of your file. Okay, so let's maybe take it from here, getting ready, and then we'll just click on the clip there. So again, that applies a clip to your motion track. Make sure you have the motion track open by clicking here, going to motion track, by the way. Okay, so with that motion clip selected in the motion track, I'm going to go here and use the break function here. Okay, so just break, and that's going to basically separate my clip into two sections here. And the first section I don't want, so I can simply just delete that. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is click and drag the second clip to the beginning of my timeline. Again, this is just to keep things organized. And so then from here, we're going to zoom or go through our timeline, and we'll have the entire run and the entire jump. Okay, there we go. And then we'll just kind of maybe stop it right there as he's, as he's landed. And from this point on, I can just break the clip on the end and just get rid of the other stuff that I don't want. Okay, so now we have this this package. We have this jump, this run and jump package all set up here. And if I press the space bar and play back, you can see this is what it's going to look like. Okay, kind of jumps off the screen there. Let's do that one more time. Another good thing to do when you're editing a single motion and you want to do refinements and everything like that is to take your project length slider, which you can find in this little triangle here on the timeline, and click it and drag it to the length of your clip, basically. And the reason for doing this is I'll show you in just a moment here. Make sure you're in the last frame. You can click and drag it right here as well, this little green triangle. Just click and drag it to the last frame of your clip. And make sure you have loop selected as well, okay? Because when you're playing back, what's going to happen is it's going to just play back and it's going to loop it. So again, this can be really useful. So you don't have to continually be scrubbing back and forth through the timeline. Okay, that's just a little setup hint there for you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to show you a couple options for how you can really exaggerate that jump. Okay, now the first way to exaggerate the jump would be using the time warp. We're going to use a combination of time warp and transform keyframes to really emphasize the position of your character. So we're going to give him like a super long jumper kind of jump here. All right, so he's going to take the run up right here, and as he leaves the ground, so he's going to jump off his right foot there. Okay, so his right foot is planted. This is the initial position of the jump. Okay, and as you can see, he jumps off of his right foot. So right here, and as he leaves the ground, as his toe leaves the ground, what I want to do is I want to click in the transform track and add a keyframe. Okay, and that's going to give us a starting position for our jump in the transform track. And what I also want to do here is, just for the time being, I'm going to isolate my the second part of my clip, which is the jump. Okay, so I'm going to isolate the jump from the run part. And again, I'm going to use the break function to do that. So break that. And then where does he land? He lands right here at about this point right here. So what I'm going to do then is add another transform keyframe, and I'm going to extend that length, extend the position here. So make it a little bit further away. So we can make it, you know, something like this, for example. And what's going to happen is he's going to jump further. So like that. Okay, so now he's, you know, jumping a lot further. Now keep in mind that because he's jumping further, it's going to look like he's jumping faster, and that's because we changed the position, but we didn't change the length of the jump. Okay, so the length of the jump is still the same, but the position is a lot further down. We can, you know, really extend that, exaggerate that a lot. I'm going to delete this stupid camera. Just extra stuff in the scene there. Oops. Click the jacket there. We can really extend it by, like, you know, moving it way down here, and then we'd have some kind of like superhuman jump, like, as of course really fast, which we don't want. Okay, and I'm going to make that a little bit less exaggerated. So we'll just go here and move it back to maybe another meter or so, meter and a half maybe, and let's make sure it's not too exaggerated. So use starting point like that, and I think even a little bit close further back there. We just want to exaggerate it a little bit in this case. Okay, and I think that one looks fine. That's you know, fairly good length. Okay, so that's the first thing we want to do, is we're adjusting that that length maybe a little bit further there. Okay, now because we changed the position but we didn't change the length of the jump, we need to do that. So again, what I'm going to do at this point here is click on this clip, and we're going to break it one more time. So again, break it, and then we're going to click and drag the second part further down. All right. Now, how long do we want to extend this jump for? Let's see. We have to kind of eyeball it a little bit. So we'll select the clip here, and we want to make sure that we have speed selected. Okay, not loop selected. We want to have speed selected here, and we can adjust the speed of that clip to a little bit longer, something like this. And then, of course, what we want to do is we want to extend the position keyframe, the transform keyframe, further as well. Okay, so let's just experiment and see if this works. Okay, I think that looks okay. So from here to here, we have, you know, that jump right there. Okay, now one thing you want to do as well here, and we'll click and drag this back to where it's supposed to be here. Okay, so now what we have is this. We have a jump, and it looks okay. Now I'm going to just make my project slider even closer here, because again, we're focusing on this one specific jump area. Okay, so it's going to be like this. We're just focusing on the jump only. Okay, And I think that looks, fairly good. Now, the problem here is that the jump is a little bit too linear. It doesn't really, have much of a, it kind of looks a little bit too smooth, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to, really emphasize, add some emphasis on this jump by doing a couple things. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use the transition keys, okay? So there's two transform keyframes right here at the beginning and at the end. If we wanted to extend the height of this, for example, we can go somewhere in the middle and we can really extend that height. Take him up here somewhere, for example. Okay, then he's going to jump like a lot higher. Okay, so it's more like a high jump. All right. Now, what I'm going to do here is the easiest way, say if you're like on a, a really crunch for time or something, and you want to just make the easiest way to exaggerate or use a transition on this jump, what you can do is you can actually use something called time warp, which is only applied to the clip. Okay, it's not applied to the keyframes. So if I want to use time warp, what I'm going to do here is we're going to make sure our motion, we'll pick up the gesture track since we don't need gesture. We want to right click on our clip, our motion clip, and go up to time warp. Okay. Now there's various, typical settings here you can use for time warp. If I wanted to, have the center part of the clip a little bit more exaggerated or a little bit longer, what I can do is I can select ease out and ease in. Now notice when I do that, the keyframes here are going to be kind of separated. All right. The frames are going to be in different kind of a time zone, I guess you can say, time warp in this case. Okay, so what's going to happen is the position of the clip is going to change. The position of the character in the clip is going to change. Let's play this back and see what I'm talking about. So now you can see it's a little bit of a float, like a little bit of a hesitation almost at the top of the jump. All right. So, I mean, that looks fine. And we've really just kind of done two simple things. We've adjusted the transform keyframe to make him jump longer and higher. And we've done a simple thing using the transition curve preset for the time warp for our character. So again, that looks fine. That jump looks decent, but we can take it even further. We can kind of exaggerate that in a lot of different ways. And what I would recommend doing is using the curve editor. Okay. So to use the curve editor, what I'm going to do here is let's make sure that everything's going okay. Okay. So I'm going to just make sure that our position here is going to be changing as well. So if we don't want to use the time warp, we can also use the curve editor. So I'm going to right click and just use the time warp and just set it back to linear. Okay, so notice the difference here. Again, that grid changes on the bottom. You'll notice the difference of the character. It's not going to be as much of an exaggeration at the top. Okay, and now that's a very simple method to do it. Curve editor is better because it allows you more freedom and more customization. Okay, so the time warp, you have to use those presets. You only have a selection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 presets, five presets and a custom one. Okay, now using the curve editor, you can make a much bigger difference. So let's go ahead and right click on the transform keyframe and go to curve editor. Now you can also access the curve editor by going to plugins, curve editor, and curve editor up here. Okay, so curve editor, it may look a little bit daunting at first, but it's actually not that complicated. And I'm using a transform example here because it's just the easiest way to kind of utilize the curve editor. So if you hold the control key and you scroll your mouse button, you can zoom in and out on the timeline, I guess. Okay, so on the curve editor, it's important to remember the X value here is the time. Okay, so we're going from frame 100 to frame. Notice if I click and drag on the top here, it's also moving along my timeline. Okay, and then we just have this one little jump here. We have 3 keyframes for the Z position. Okay, so I have a position for the. If you look at my my character's little gizmo here, transform gizmo, the red arrow is the x-axis, the green arrow is the y-axis, and the blue arrow is the z-axis. Okay, and in your curve editor, you'll have 3 different items right here. We'll just move this over a little bit. We have position X, position Y, and position Z. Okay, so position Y, if we zoom out, you can see we've really modified that position to, way over here. I'm going to focus on position Z first, okay, because this is kind of the height of his jump. Now, what we can do here is we can hold control and have position Y and position Z selected at the same time, and they'll both appear on the curve editor at the same time. Okay, and then I'll zoom, let's expand our timeline here a little bit to give us a bit more emphasis. Now, if I go to this frame, for example, you can see it's the transform keyframe down here in the timeline, which corresponds with this keyframe right here in our curve editor. I can move that up, okay? If I move it up, that's gonna move my character's position up in the world as well, okay? I can move it down, I can change my character's position to move it further down, okay? So this is where the curve editor really comes in handy. Now, see, I wanted him to kind of have, a higher position at the beginning, like further at the beginning of his jump. I can click and drag that this way, okay? And what's gonna happen is he's gonna really launch, and then he's gonna kind of float down a little bit later on, okay? But generally, when you're doing a jump, I mean, if you want to exaggerate it in some ways, you can, have it like more like this. So that's what it looks like this way. It's kind of like he launches and then kind of floats down a little bit more, okay? Since we moved it a little bit further up on the timeline, he reaches the peak of his jump a little bit earlier at about frame 180, whatever it is, 182, okay? So we can make him reach the peak of his jump earlier. You can make him reach the peak of his jump later, which wouldn't really make a lot of sense, okay? You can make it a little bit smoother in some cases, okay? So if you did something like this, it may look a little bit smoother. And you can also click and drag, the tangent curves right here, and you can adjust those to various values, something like this. There's lots of freedom, lots of options you can use here just to make your jump as smooth as possible, okay? Now, I think that's looking okay right now. Again, the landing is pretty smooth, okay? And if we want, we can have, let's make sure our character has, I think he has foot contact on. If we go to the modify tab, yeah, make sure you have foot contact on all the time when you're doing this, okay? Let's take a quick look at what this looks like in, I'm just gonna minimize this a little bit. So let's see what it looks like right now in Unreal Engine here. Okay, let's find our character here. I'm going to, oh, we have our camera connected as well. So what we need to do here is change our camera angle. So I have the camera connected in Unreal Live Link as well. So when I move my camera, my character is also going to, the camera in Unreal is also going to move. Okay, so let's just close down the curve editor for now. We'll come back to that in just a moment here. So my character is kind of jumping through the wall, all right? So obviously not something that we want to do ideally, okay? We don't want to have our character jumping through the wall. Let's just correct this. First of all, I'm going to show you how to quickly correct this in Unreal. Now, the way that I recommend correcting this is to change the iClone origin spot in the Unreal Live Link, okay? So where's our character jumping from? He's kind of jumping from here. So he starts at the origin. And I've set the origin in the Unreal project to somewhere over here, okay? I'll show you that in just a moment. It's right here. You can see the origin right there. Now, if I want, I can change the origin of my, in my Unreal project to a different area. The origin in Unreal Engine corresponds with the world axis in iClone right here. And again, that's kind of explained in a bit more detail in the tutorials that Eddie did for us here. Okay, so what I need to do is just make sure that my initial position is correct. Make sure he's not jumping into the wall there. Let's take that and scroll ahead. Okay, so he's jumping up there, maybe even a little bit further to the left here. Oops. Make sure we have the origin selected. And I'm going to also use the E hotkey to rotate my origin slightly to change his position there. Okay, so now what's going to be happening is he's going to be, let's just take it all the way back to the beginning here. He's going to be starting over here. Okay, let's just Play back here. Okay, so he kind of jumps out into the sunlight. All right, pretty cool. All right, just kind of wanted to show you how editing is also live live transferred over into Unreal Engine. Okay, and that's how you change the positioning of everything. Okay, so let's go about now adding some emphasis to the jump. So we've kind of I'll just modify the curve editor a little bit more before I resume here in iClone, just to make sure that our jump is looking nice. So again, let's F3 go into our timeline. Let's take our project slider and move it up. Oops. There we go. And zoom in, just make sure everything is aligned here. Okay, so we want to focus on this part again here, just the jump. What a jump. Okay, so now he's jumping left to right, okay, because the camera in Unreal is kind of on the other side, it's going through the building. Okay, so let's start off here with a couple of exaggerations on the movement after we get our position in the curve editor correct here. So I ended up over here. I prefer having it a bit more like this and kind of reaching the peak of the jump a little bit prior to the mid-range of the jump. So my preference is kind of like this. I like to have a nice quick takeoff, okay, like this. And maybe even just bring that up a little bit, okay? And just reaching the peak of the jump a little bit faster. Okay, now again, so, pretty wild looking jump there. And then the peak of it, the y-axis right here. So this is the distance, okay? And maybe from here to here, this point to this point, we can have him reach the y distance a little bit faster. So again, we can take this y keyframe right here and move it a little bit further up back here. So he reaches the peak of his jump, or the distance of his jump, a little bit faster. Okay, so now we have something like this. Okay, and I kind of like that a bit more just because it adds a bit more dynamic feeling to the beginning of the jump. And when he lands, again, you can do something like this. When he lands right here, we can take his position down a little bit on the z-axis. So right here, as he lands, we could maybe do something like have him a bit further down like this, and then back up to the regular position right here, okay? And just to kind of okay, I probably won't do that actually. We'll probably wait to do that for a little bit later. Let's just get rid of these keyframes here. Right click and delete, of course, okay? Okay, so the next thing I want to do here is I want to adjust the, use the edit motion layer tool to adjust the kind of the exaggeration of the jump. So right here, as he gets started, what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to combine these clips again. So I'm going to combine, hold Control and select these two clips. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to merge clips. Okay, so that combine those two clips, and now what we're going to do is we're going to emphasize the beginning of the jump a little bit more. Okay, so at this point right here, what I'm going to do is we're going to use the motion layer tool. We're going to go over to our content, modify tab, our animation tab here up here, and go to edit motion layer tool. And this is where you do the keyframe editing. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to press the reset key, and that's going to add an absolute keyframe on that at that frame. And what I'm going to do from here is before he jumps, I'm going to kind of just bring his hips down a little bit. So we're going to take his hips here, and I'm going to make sure that his left leg, I believe it is unlocked. Take his hips and move his hips down like this. Okay, just a little bit. So it kind of looks like he's going a little bit further down for his jump. So, and then at this point here, we're going to press reset, and it's going to reset it back to normal. Okay, so we have something like this. and he's bending down a bit more and going up like this. We all extend that a little bit further so it's more. There we go. Okay, so he's going down a bit further, and we can also do something like take his chest here and use the E hotkey to rotate the chest and have the chest down a bit further as well. So now he's getting ready to jump a bit. It's kind of really bending into it or leaning into it, and then like this, and then at this frame here, we'll just reset again. Okay, make sure it's reset, and there we go. So now you have a, and again, this might be a little bit too fast. So what I can do is just extend it back further, and from here to here, he goes down, and then from here, maybe we'll reset it somewhere a bit more over here. Okay, so he just jumps down like this, and then here, what I may even want to do here at this point here is as he's taking off, I'll have him kind of stretch out a little bit, almost like a long jumper at the Olympics. So we'll take his chest right there and move it back. Okay, and then we'll take his thighs. And with the thighs, I'm going to just make sure both the legs are unlocked here. I'm going to make sure that we have mirrors selected. Okay, so we're moving both the thighs simultaneously. And we'll move those back on the x-axis right here. Like that. There we go. Not too much. But, maybe when we'll undo the mirror and get this one a little bit further back. Okay, so that makes it look a little bit more like he's kind of just, doing the long jump. On this point here, it's like that action movie kind of jump. All right, so that just kind of exaggerates the motion from here to here, and then we'll have this kind of jump right here. Okay, and of course we need to make sure at this point here, before we reach the bottom, that we reset it. So somewhere right here, again, we don't want him to land like this right here because that's going to be a little bit weird. Right here, we'll just go ahead and we'll reset it at this point here. Okay, so then from here to here, we'll gradually move into that position and land. Okay, so then our jump's going to look more like this. Okay, a little bit better. And again, you can really emphasize this. I think maybe if I took the head back a little bit at this point here, because his head's still forward, so take the head back and rotate that back like this. There you go. Now he's really reaching for the stars. So play back. There we go. Okay, looks a little bit better. And again, what you can do is you can really emphasize all this stuff a lot. Now, I'm going to show you one really quick trick here before we move on. And that's, say, we got everything we want, but I want to tweak a little bit. A couple of the things here, a couple of the motions, the positions of the character. Again, you can use the curve editor for all these positions here as well. Say, for example, from this position to this position, if we want to have more of a, a smooth curve instead of a linear curve, we can right-click on the absolute keyframe here and just go to transition curve presets. Okay, and that means from this position or this position to this position, this pose to this pose, we're going to have one of these transitions, and it's going to apply to all the keyframes below it. Let's go ahead and load up the curve editor just to take a look here at what these actually do. So what I need to do at the curve editor here is I need to select the character's particular bones here. We don't want transform. We want layer keys selected, okay? And you can see with the layer keys, there's a lot more of them, okay? But I'm just going to focus on, I think, what do we rotate the pelvis a little bit. The hips rotation is slightly rotated here. Again, I think what we did mostly was the thighs. There we go. Yeah, the thighs was the biggest one that we did. Okay, so let's shift select all the rotations of the thighs. I think the X one is the one that we focus on the most. So let's just focus on the X axis, which again is if we take a quick zoom over here, if we go to our let's open the motion key editor first, so you can just see which X axis the Y axis is, or the X axis rather. The one we're talking about here is left thigh rotation X. So that's left thigh right here. And if we hold press the E hotkey, that's this one right here. Okay. That's rotating. And again, it's locked right now. So if we move that, that would move back and forth like this. Okay. Now, if we took this, we moved it, you can see the rotation right there. So it can be rotated less or rotated more, right? Now, if I applied, say, for example, one of those transition keys to that particular section, that particular keyframe, say, for example, a in and a bounce. Well, no, we need to, sorry a sec here. You just select the actual thigh bone here. So you go down and find the left thigh, left leg here, okay? So left leg, if we selected that, we accidentally moved it over there. Let's just delete that keyframe. Oops, no, we need to, that is a keyframe we need. So let's move it over here. Okay. So again, you can use the transition keyframe like a stuttering start, for example. I know it's a good example on this one here. What's going to happen if we use end and a bounce? The left thigh is going to kind of bounce from here to here, and it's just going to really not have an effect that we want. But you can use the transition curve presets to, you know, you can see right here. You can't really see it that much, okay, because it's very minor. But generally, you wouldn't want to do something like this. If you wanted to move different parts of the body at different times, this is a good way to do that. Say, for example, I would normally use the smooth preset right here, which is just, you know, the nice ease in, ease out. Again, we can also use the damping. So his thigh would reach the mean position right here already, and then gradually go back into position there. And we can even take this up and, you know, move it and adjust the tangent as well. If you want to add another tangent, you can do so as well. Tangents, just do like a smooth one or something, for example. And I guess I right-clicked on that and added tangents, and all sorts of different ways you can modify this. I just wanted to kind of show you that. Okay, so that's really all I wanted to you know, mention about the curve editor there. Again, we have this motion that we've modified. Now, if you want, my recommendation is once you've you know, done all that stuff, you can save the project, save a project with all the editing done. And if you don't want to, if you want to do further editing after you save the project, just right-click on the clip there. This is very important, and you can select flatten motion clip, and you can flatten selected parts or all parts, or you can flatten and keep all the keys. I just normally go flatten selected parts. What that does is that stores all that. It makes all the changes we made to the keyframes, and it makes it permanent. Okay, so all this stuff, it made it really permanent. Okay, and then this clip we can just move back to here, and our jump is just going to be like this, like that. Okay, so again, just a lot of different ways you can really emphasize the motion and movement of your character, exaggerate jumps, exaggerate motions and everything. All sorts of fun ways you can do that. We have about, like, I can do another 5 minutes or so here. I'll just show you quickly the facial animation in Unreal from iClone here. So let's go ahead and go back to the first frame. And we'll have our character, as he makes a jump, we'll have him change facial expressions. All right. So maybe at the very beginning, we already have the hands already taken care of thanks to the wireless gloves with the Noitom Studio there. Let's say at the beginning of our character's attempt to jump 5 feet in the air, he's going to be pretty, you know, focused. So let's go ahead and make sure we zoom in on the character here in Unreal as well. I'm going to just close that down for now. Again, you can see the difference in shading in Unreal. Now, Live Link is so awesome. There's a lot of ways that I can explain that it's awesome, but generally, the fact that it imports the shaders. Let's get rid of our camera here. Where's our camera? There we go. Okay, so let's zoom in on his face here really quick. One of the best ways that Live Link saves tons of time is it automatically assigns all the shaders from your iClone character into Unreal Engine. Okay, and the lighting here is a bit different for both scenarios here. We'll talk about lighting in a future webinar maybe. But okay, for facial animation, everything is live streamed into Unreal as well. So let's go over to the animation tab here, and I'm going to just use Face Puppet. Face Puppet is just our really quick and dirty facial animation tool here. We can select any one of these profiles. Zane, for example, we'll select an angry profile and adjust the strength to something a bit higher, and just preview and press space. Right? You can see here he's looking around. He's getting prepared to do his Superman jump. All right. All of this stuff is live streamed into Unreal Live Link. Really fast and really easy. Like I only have a laptop here that I'm using with a GTX 1070. Again, you don't need something super crazy to do this. It's really simple and easy to do this. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and I'm not going to use the Face Puppet tool. I'm going to use the Face Key tool. And again, any questions in the Q&A section, you can just ask me about that. I'm going to go to an expression here, give him a bit more of a intent expression on his face, maybe not that intent. Again, we can use that and lower the expressiveness. These are just the shortcuts that I always use, okay, for my character. So we'll have him start like this, and as he's ready to go here, maybe we'll have him like this. We'll apply that same angry template there. If you want to find out where these are in the timeline, I'll show you really quickly. I'll press F3 and go into the timeline here. They are not in the motion track. They are in the expression track, okay? Any lip syncing will be in the Viseme track here. All the facial expression stuff will be in the expression track, okay? And you'll see what we did here is we created 2 keyframes, basically the same. If we wanted him to be even angrier at this point, we can do this, and it adds a keyframe there in the muscle track, okay? So from here to here, maybe he's really angry. And then from here to here, he's not angry at all. But then he's angry again. Okay, so he's getting ready at this point here, and we'll just kind of, okay, so you can see from here, he's really angry, a little bit less angry, and then he's going back to angry. He's like, I'm ready to jump. And then I'm going to just do something funny in the middle of his jump. We're going to have him open his mouth and look really weird. Let's just go to the point where he's jumping. Okay, and then we'll add an angry keyframe here. And again, you can see what that does is that extends the expression clip and adds a keyframe in the muscle track. And maybe a few frames later, as he's up here, we can have him open his mouth like he's going to be really surprised. So he's like, I'm flying. All right, so here goes from angry to I'm flying. Okay, I think as he's flying, he can just keep that going until maybe about this point here. And then he'll kind of return back to maybe a normal looking face there. Okay. So, and again, let's zoom in on the face so you can really see that expression. Okay, so as he jumps into the sunlight, he's here you go. Goes back to a normal facial expression. Okay, so that's really all I want to show you guys. Enough fooling around here. We'll get to the Q&A section since that's kind of probably what you want to get to before too long here. All right, so again, just the little quick look at the jump that we created in Unreal. And again, we can record camera motion, and we can record the clips in Unreal and everything as well. All right, good enough. Okay, so let's go to the Q&A section again, like I mentioned here, and any questions you have, put those in the QA panel there, and we'll go from there. Okay, first question is, whoops, we always have a question about future products when they're going to be launched. So Unity Live Link ETA from Eric White. I can't really mention much about the like future launches at this point, but Unity Live Link is something that we are working very hard on. Again, we have a lot of Unity users as well. We do have the Unreal or Unity Auto Setup already launched, but the Unity Live Link, we still need to, there's a little bit of collaboration that we need to do with the Unity team that we are kind of working on right now. So I can't really give you a correct, accurate ETA on the Unity Live Link, since there's some resources that we need from them as well. That's all I can mention right now. Okay, so Christopher asks, can you explain a little bit about exporting to video in the game engine? I find that 60 frames a second plays a little fast occasionally, and occasionally the video stutters. Yeah, we do have Unreal has their own like motion editing tools. They have their own recording. Now you can use like the sequencer recording in Unreal. There's a tutorial that I'll show you guys that talks about the sequencer, where you can record, your sequences in Unreal. I'm not too familiar with it, but again, what you need to do is you need to go up to project settings in Unreal, and there's a couple things to do. I'll just kind of send you the link here if I can find it in the chat window, or not in chat window, in Chrome here. That should be good to go. YouTube. Okay, so keep in mind that when you do transfer, recording media from iClone into Unreal Engine, it's the Cine Camera component. Okay, let's see here. iClone, Unreal, Live Link, playlist. This should be good. Because that process is a little bit long. It could take maybe 5-10 minutes or something like that. The tutorial playlist is right here. So I'll just share this for you guys. Oops. Well, you can just kind of search for Live Link playlist, and the one that I'm looking for is...
Hello, and welcome to this Live Link tutorials.
Sequence recorder, this one right here. Okay, so this one specifically is really good. And I'll just copy and paste this to the chat window for you guys there. And this will kind of explain that explain all the stuff you need to know about using the sequence recorder in Unreal Engine. Okay, because you can see the tutorial is about 13 minutes long, so I don't kind of want to go through that process at this point. And I'm also not super familiar with it. Okay, yeah. So Donald mentions the data looks really good, like accent's good. Thanks, Donald, and thanks to the Noitom team for bringing out this new and improved studio version of Perception Neuron, which is really exceptional. Julie mentions here, is there a length limit for iClone animations in this area or at all? Not really. What I would recommend doing though is keeping your animations short. Again, it really depends on what you're using it for. If you're using it for, like film production stuff, you're doing your own little film project. Again, there's really no limit to the length of the iClone animation. And again, but when you're, if you're using games, for example, just keep it to a smaller range of frames for your animation, just because they're easier, they're smaller to move around, smaller to apply to other characters. I think that's kind of just common sense, to be honest. But the question was, is there a limit length for iClone animations? Not really. I think you can basically go up to like 9,999 frames or something like that. And yeah, generally that should be enough for most scenarios. Okay, unless you're doing a full, like one of those movies where they do like 20 shot, a 20 minute shot in a single camera and stuff like that. Then it can be a challenge, but aside from that, you should be good. Okay, so Joseph asks, how can you render animation using the iRay render plugin? I mean, you can do that, to be honest, but we have released the new shaders for iClone, and I think they're fairly good. And if the iClone shaders aren't good enough for you, definitely the Unreal Live Link or the Unreal shaders should be comparable, basically, to iRay render plugin. But if you want to render using the iRay render plugin, I wouldn't recommend doing it for animation, since it's mostly made for photorealistic stuff. If you have it, go to plugins, iClone render, and you just preview or whatever, render from here. Okay, so pretty simple stuff. Nothing really complicated about that. But I don't really want to focus too much on the iRay render stuff. If you have any questions about iRay render, you can probably just ask me. You can email me, kai@reallusion.com. That's kai@reallusion.com. And I can get some answers for you there for iRay, just because the iRay stuff doesn't really the focus of this webinar. But that's how you have to get the iRay render first and go up to here and iRay render and render the scene. A batch render is for animation, okay, and render settings, all that stuff. Okay, so Peter asks, the Motion Live plugin for iClone and Live Face Profile are on sale right now. Can these products be used with Logitech HD webcam, or do I need an iPhone? Okay, so to clarify, if you're using an iPhone, or if you're using the Live Face Profile, that's only for iClone, or sorry, that's only for the iPhone. Okay, so Live Face is only for the iPhone. If you want to use a webcam, you'll need the Faceware right now. Okay, we already have a webcam plugin that we have, our own webcam plugin for Cartoon Animator 4, and that may be coming to iClone in the near future here. Okay, just so you're aware. But for now, if you're using webcam, you're limited to the Faceware face profile, okay, or Faceware gear profile. Live Face is used only for iPhone 10. Okay. There's tons of tutorials on using the Faceware stuff. My studio right now is a little bit dark since the sun's gone down, so I can't really demo my face right now, unfortunately. And I probably want to get the lights set up before I did that. Otherwise, I could demo it for you. But generally, we have a tutorial or a webinar that we just did on that. I think it was the last webinar I did, actually, was using facial animation with facial motion capture. So I check out the archive. That's what I was looking at, the word I was looking for, the archive for our webinars. And you can find me using the iPhone Live Face motion profile there, or gear profile. Okay, so Ahmed asks, if we recorded animation in Unreal and want to edit it in iClone, does a live link work in both directions? No, unfortunately, the live link only works from iClone into Unreal Engine. To be honest, maybe it's because I'm more familiar with the iClone editing, but I find that motion editing in iClone is really simple, really easy. We have the curve editor, so you have all the freedom you need for, transition curves and all that stuff. There's time warp. There's all sorts of motion tools in iClone. Since iClone from the beginning was essentially made for character animation, I would recommend for motion editing, I'd recommend iClone over Unreal, to be honest with you. Yeah, but it only goes one way, from iClone into Unreal. iClone. Okay, so Steve asks, can you explain your choice of labeling X, Y, and Z axes in iClone? Z has always been depth in my experience, X left and right, and Y up and down. There must be a reason. Yeah, I know that. I get what you're saying there, Stephen. It's not really my decision. It's been our engineers' decision since the beginning. I believe that Unreal Engine has a different axis setup than iClone does. Maya has a different one. I think iClone follows the Maya setup for your axis. Unreal is just kind of rotated one rotated 90 degrees basically. Whenever you're importing animations from Unreal characters into iClone and stuff like that, it's generally not an issue when you're using 3D Exchange, because we've kind of resolved all those axes issues for the most part. If you come across something like that, generally it'll be resolved. But yeah, it's a minor inconvenience for sure to have the axes different setup for all the world axis. So Jose Luis Orue, how do you explain how to save the movement in Unreal Engine 4? Well, again, that's using that tutorial that I just put in the chat window there for you guys. This one right here that I just did. Yep. Highly recommend checking out that tutorial. Again, it's using the sequence recorder, which I haven't had a lot of, I don't really use it that often, because honestly, I just record my motions in iClone and just import them. But yeah, the sequence editor can be, or sequence recorder is a pretty good tool in Unreal. And when I get more familiar with that, I'll be able to demo it for you guys. Okay, so Dennis asks, what's the best way to save things like curve and motion edits as a style to be applied to other animations? Curve and motion edits as a style to be applied to other animations. Let's see. So as a style to be applied to other animations, that's kind of a strange wording. But if you want to save all your edits, again, one important thing to note is that clips are very versatile in iClone. So whenever I have this, I have this clip, I can merge the clips, I can flatten them and everything like that. This one here, I can flatten the expression clip as well if I want. Let's focus on the body clip that I was looking at before. Motion clip. Whoops. Okay, so we flatten this clip. Okay, and you can notice that we still have two clips here. What I can do is I can control select them, and I can just merge clips into one, and then we just do that, and you can break them. Now, if I want, say for example, you wanted to still make minor edits at this one part of your character's jump. What you can do is you can right-click on your clip, and you can select sample motion clip. Okay. Now you can sample. What's going to happen is when you sample certain parts, when you sample all parts, it's going to basically add keyframes for every single feature of your character, every single body part of your mesh. Okay, so if I select like let's say torso, for example, okay, and then I click on that clip. Oops, well, that's not going to do that. So sample motion clip, let's select selected parts here, and here we go. We got to select it from here, torso, and we go sample here. What we're going to see is all the keyframes populated in the torso track. Okay, and again, you can delete these keyframes, you can add them, you can do transition curves and all that stuff. And then once you're done, you can flatten it again, flatten motion clip, flatten selected parts, the torso, and flatten. Okay, it's just a way to keep your edits cleaner. And what I personally do is I just save the project. Most of the motions that I do, I just save them in separate projects. And if I want to go back in history to any of the the edits I've made, then I can go to the previous iteration of that project. In terms of tutorials to watch for curve and motion editing, I'll send you guys the learning resource page here. It's a pretty easy one to find. Let's go to the iClone main page. Thankfully, we're the only software named iClone, so it's easy to Google. And go to Learn and Tutorials. And all the tutorials are here. Basically, we update everything here. It's all organized. Digital Human Shader is a really cool one that I'd recommend checking out. Again, all of the professional animation stuff can be found in here. This stuff is pretty simple. And then there's some down here for pipeline and for other topics as well. I'll throw this in the chat window as well for you guys. Zoop. Oh, I need to make sure this is going to all panelists and attendees. Goodness sakes. Okay, there we go. Hopefully I sent that last one to all you guys. Oh, no, I did not. So I'm going to send this one to all you guys again here. For the sequencer recorder. There you go. Okay, I've been messaging privately prior to that. Okay, so you didn't receive that. All right, that's all in the chat window for you guys. Okay. Let's go to the next one here. Albert Duplessis mentions here, I noticed the frames per second in iClone is below 30, sometimes 20 frames per second. And the link to Unreal is 60 frames per second. Okay, so that can be a problem if your iClone frames per second is generally below, I think the threshold is about 50. So when you're taking your, when you're using LiveLink, you want to make sure that your frames per second, which you can find in the top left there, the FPS right there, you want to make sure that this is at least 50. Okay. Now there's various ways that you can, you know, adjust this. Again, I'm using a fairly poor, you know, laptop right now. A lot of things you can do, and I'm running a few programs at once. Again, it's all the typical stuff that you would do. Like you probably wouldn't be live broadcasting to like 100 people. That takes up a lot of resources. You probably wouldn't be, you know, opening Chrome or you know, live recording stuff and all this other stuff. But there's a tutorial in that playlist that I sent earlier, the Unreal Live Link playlist, that shows all the processes that you can use to save resources. Which one is that? It is, I believe, there's just so many of these. Well, achieving the frame rate. How to increase frames per second. This one right here. This is a really good one that shows, you can see about 13 minutes of stuff. So again, I want to try and get to as many questions as possible. And if I can just leave you guys with this tutorial, Eddie can explain it a lot better with a lot more time. And it's worth your while to check out this this tutorial here if you want to achieve that frames per second. So there you go. All right, that's the put that in the chat window there as well. Again, if you want the ideal frames per second in iClone should be somewhere around 50. Okay, if you're doing 60 frames per second into Unreal. Okay, so Solomon asks, can you demonstrate how to employ the edit reach target mode as well in this case? Edit reach target's really simple and easy, so I'll just kind of show you. Not really relevant to this motion, but if I wanted to have my characters jumping there, we go to Animation tab, edit reach target. You just select the whatever bone you want, reach effector. And then if we take our character, take that reach effector. Yeah, that's basically what you want to do is just use the reach effector and what your character is motion layer. Let's move around like that. Whoops, I selected his shoulder there. Okay, again. You would take that, put that reach effector wherever you want, and it would just kind of adjust the character's position, yada, yada. Okay. Yeah, I can go into more detail on that. There's a tutorial on that somewhere. I'm pretty sure it's in that learning resource page. But yeah, reach effectors are pretty simple stuff. I'm pretty sure it's here somewhere, because I did it a long time ago. It's in professional animation somewhere. Maybe not. Could be in another tutorial somewhere, but I did reach effector in I think the last webinar as well. That's somewhere in there. Maybe you can just email me, Solomon, so I can demonstrate it to you a little bit more in detail if you want later on. We have like 35 questions here, so yeah, just that's where you find the reach effector, and that's how you apply a reach effector to your character. Okay, question here from Robert. It would be nice if there was an upgrade path for the hardware, since that isn't likely to happen. Yeah, so this is, I guess, a question regarding the Noitom hardware. You can probably contact Noitom support about that one, Robert, just an upgrade path for the hardware. Yeah, the new UI is beautiful for the studio, Perception Neuron Studio there. Antoine asks, is UE Live Link props import process the same as for the characters? Yeah, basically it's exactly the same. I'll show you a quick way to transfer stuff from Unreal to, or from iClone to Unreal, since this is, very basic stuff. Whatever you have in your scene in iClone, so if I take a content, I go to my props. Let's just take a quick 3D block or something like that. Let's give this guy a sphere beside him. The ball of wonder, we'll put it right beside him. And then we'll go to Unreal Live Link tab. Go to transfer, and it should be on there. Where is it? The ball of wonder. Anyway, it should be on here. Well, if I have the camera here anyways, or the character, if I want to transfer the character, just make sure it's selected on the list. Maybe I have to close it down first. The live link. Where is my sphere? All right, well, we'll just transfer Kevin anyways, because it's not showing up the sphere for some reason. Maybe there's some kind of bug. Or we can just take the camera, for example. If I create another camera, it should appear. There you go, create camera. All right, the prop should appear as well. I'm not sure what's the issue, but yeah, it should appear there. All right, so if we take this camera, we want to import it into Unreal. Just make sure you go transfer file. Select it and whoops, deselect that one, transfer file. And you'll see once we do that, it'll start importing in Unreal. And there it is right there, camera. This one here up in the world outlier. And this is the same camera that we have in iClone right now. Let's just go back to using this one here. Good. All right, so that's transferring the camera. The prop should be there as well. I'm not sure why it's not. But anyways, it should appear. Maybe if I saved and restarted the program or something, that would be the issue. But that's basically how you transfer stuff. All right. I guess let's move on to the next question here. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm clicking around here. There we go. So Mick is asking, can you show live talking? Yeah, I mean, basically everything that goes into, I showed you the live facial expression. I can also apply live talking as well. It's basically the same process. If I was doing live lip sync or facial mocap, it would be live linked into Unreal Engine there. Okay. So I'm not going to really, I think I might have ruined my project here. Oh, there's my character. We have to reset the live link here as well. If you want to re-import stuff into Unreal Engine, make sure that all the things you want are selected, and make sure you activate link there as well. Okay, and that should be, let's make sure we click on the camera here, which is the camera we're using, I believe. I have to change this to our preview camera. You can select it from the world outliner in Unreal, and stop piloting or pilot. Okay, and this is where it should be. Oh, it's behind my, I got too many things on my screen. It's behind my Zoom webinar panel, question panel there. There you go. Okay, so Dennis asks, it would be great to learn the best ways to handle working with characters that are interacting with each other and that have emotions to apply to them. Yeah, this is actually a tutorial that I've always kind of wanted to do myself, because I find that some of the stuff, some of the challenges that come with creating character interaction, the tutorials that we have don't really talk too much about character interaction. And I think that I have done some webinars in the past where I've done complete scenes with character interaction, and you can check those in the webinar archive. But yeah, we don't really have tutorials that talk too much about character interaction, and that's something that I really like to do personally, because I find that in the projects that the personal projects that I do, character interaction is one of the biggest things to learn. Obviously, most projects aren't going to have a single character. You have other characters talking to each other and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, make sure you put that in the webinar survey form that we're going to send out. If you want to see webinars or tutorials on character interaction, I think a lot of people do. It's been a long time since we've done one of those. So maybe we can update that. And yeah, make sure you put that in the survey that we're going to send out to you guys. Okay, so Kathleen asks, will the face key only work on iClone created models, or is that something we can integrate with our own 3D models? So most of our models are created using Character Creator 3. Now you were able to import, if you have Character Creator 3 pipeline, you're able to import DAZ and poser characters with a single click, and the facial morphs and all that stuff will be imported automatically. So all the facial animation is totally fine when you're importing from DAZ or Poser or iClone Character Creator 3 characters. But other stuff, you may need to do some manual facial rigging, okay? So if your character uses facial bones, for example, or custom facial morphs, you'll have to manually set that up using 3D Exchange. And that's something that can take some time. So, you know, generally I recommend Character Creator 3 is a great character creation software in the first place. I recommend just using that. That's probably the best way to do things. Okay. Yeah, it's probably one of the best character creation solutions out there right now. So I can highly recommend it, with all honesty. Okay, so a question from Wei Chung. Do you know the computer system requirements of running the Neuron Mocap, especially for CPU, processor, and graphics card? For graphics card, I can say that we probably want to have NVIDIA GTX 1070, 1060 at minimum, 1070, 1080 or higher is recommended. That's what I'd recommend for graphics card. In terms of their particular system requirements for Perception Neuron Mocap, you probably have to find that from their website. And I don't want to like browse around their website since I'm not too familiar with it right now, but it should be easy enough to find their system requirements on the website, on the product page. Yeah, maybe check that out on your own time their way. But in terms of video cards for the whole process, again, I'm using like a GTX 1070, and my CPU processor is just like what is it here? Core i7, 7th generation. So nothing too crazy. Okay, we'll go on to the next one here from Donald. Can I do all this magic with an imported DAZ Genesis 8 character and export the finished BVH back to DAZ Studio? Yeah, you definitely can. All this stuff you can do. Import your DAZ Genesis 8 character using Character Creator 3 pipeline. If you don't have Character Creator 3 pipeline, I highly recommend it. It's only like 199 bucks or something. And pick that up because it allows you to import all your DAZ characters. You can export your DAZ characters back out once you've modified them or once you animated them and stuff via BVH file. Sure, FBX works as well. Also do Alembic files as well if you're using physics. And now the export for motions is a little bit different because you need 3D Exchange pipeline to do that. So make sure you're aware of that. Motions exported need to be done using a 3D Exchange pipeline. Okay, The character export doesn't need that, but motions do need 3D Exchange pipeline. Okay. Let's see here. Oh, Mike was saying I was referring to live face. Yeah, live face is the iPhone 10. I think I answered that previously. Jose Luis asks, can you please assign this movement to another character in UE4? Well, I don't have anything recorded at this point, so I can't really assign the movement to another character. But we do have a tutorial on that I'll send you guys here. On this page, we should be able to find it. I did this tutorial myself a while ago, and again, it's the whole process. So there are pipeline tutorials here. Yeah, it's in here. Character animation and control, this one here. So yeah, this one right here, replacing the playable character. This is the one that you want to take a look at if you want to transfer motions from one character to another that are already recorded. If I wanted to do that here, share. Okay. I'm just going to put this in the chat window there for you, Jose. Transferring motions from one Unreal character to another. Once you have them recorded and everything, you can do via that tutorial right there. You can replace because we're live linked right now. We can't really replace the character. We just have to add another character, remove this character, or you can add more characters onto the screen at once. But again, it all depends on the resources of your computer. Okay, so Sean asks a good question here. If one of your animators doesn't have live link, is it possible to export the iClone animations to Unreal at a later time? Yep, it definitely is. We have a tutorial on that as well in the pipeline one. Scene and character export. One of these goes into it anyways. I think it might be this one, the same one that I just linked. But what you would do is you would export the FBX file from 3D Exchange, and you would give it to your friend in an Unreal project or whatever like that. I'll show you that quick pipeline as an example here. Let's just take a character in iClone actually and apply a motion to him. So say you did a motion that you really liked. I'm going to use a different character here just so we have a leave this character on the screen here. Let's take some good old Jade into the scene here. And I can give Jade one of our I don't know, let's say a dancing motion. We have a pretty good dance pack if you're interested in dancing. Motions here, motions. Let's just expand this since we don't need to see Unreal right now. There we go. Illusion of Dance Volume 2. There we go. This one over here. I think maybe you guys probably remember the Gangnam Style dance. Okay, so we can apply that to our character and just so say, you know, I did a really cool motion capture and I was able to do this dance flawlessly, you know, and I wanted to export it to my friend, give it to my friend in an FBX format. What I got to do is just basically what Daniel did earlier, actually, the same thing. I can repeat the process really quickly. Just go to collect clip track. Say we only wanted this part from here to here. Okay, well, let's go ahead and click and drag in the collect clip track from here to there. And right click, add motion to, you can also go add motion to 3D Exchange, and it'll take it directly into 3D Exchange. If you have facial animation included, you'll have to add motion plus to 3D Exchange, okay? So facial animation is motion plus, regular body animation is just motion. So let's go ahead and do that. It'll load up 3D Exchange. And then close. And it'll give you like this silly mesh. Okay, let's go down to wherever it is here. motion 1, and add to perform right here. And then what you do is you go ahead and file export to FBX, and you don't need to include geometry. Okay, make sure you use the Unreal Engine as a target tool preset. It doesn't really matter because we're not including the geometry anyways. And just go ahead and call it yay. Okay, and then it's FBX format, and we can close down 3D Exchange, and it's in this folder here. So there's a yay motion 1 right here. Okay, this is the one. So this is the FBX format. Then I can just send it to my friend or send it to my Unreal project. Okay, so that's the process. Now keep in mind that for that you do need a 3D Exchange pipeline. Okay, so whenever you want to export anything, any animations from iClone, any scenes and stuff, you need to have a 3D Exchange pipeline, lighting, scenes, all that stuff. Sorry, not lighting, scenes. Individual props you can do with Character Creator. It's a cheaper option for sure. But 3D Exchange will allow you to do all the motions and entire scenes as well. Okay, and then you just give that motion to your friend. Okay, so Antoine asks, is cloth simulation in iClone 7 work with UE4 and the UE4 LiveLink plugin? Not currently at this time. Physics, since there's 2 different physics engines at work, it's not really going to be working with physics too well. But you can export, if you want to export your physics simulation, physics cloth simulation in from iClone, just export in Alembic format. Okay, so you can export to Alembic format, which actually contains the physics data of your cloth, and we do have tutorials on that as well. You can probably just search like export iClone Alembic export or something like that. And it should be, I know I did one a long time ago, probably 2 years ago with using HitFilm, I think it was, for this. But yeah, Alembic, you export, that's how you export your physics, cloth simulations from iClone. Okay, so Robert asks, are there any tips on exporting iClone motions into DAZ 3D? Not really. I kind of just went through that process. This yay motion that I just exported, you can export that directly into to DAZ as well as an FBX file. Of course, just make sure that your rig is the same. Make sure that you export the rig. In this case, if you're exporting into DAZ, you probably want to include the skeletal mesh as well. Okay, let's move to the next one. Man, you're pumping out these questions, eh? All right, so anonymous attendee says, my trial version of iClone has a horse rig. Does iClone support Mocap for non-bipeds? And are there tutorials for those? Unfortunately, we don't support motion capture for non-bipeds or quadrupeds at this time. So unfortunately, you can't strap on a suit to your dog and have it run around in iClone at this point. But we have had a lot of requests for that. So, you know, it's probably something that we'll look to in the future. The thing is, we have a pretty small team over here, and we have a lot of stuff to do. The technology is constantly changing, so a lot of it is just kind of keeping up with the current technology that's moving along here. Quadrupeds are not the top priority at this point, but that is something that we've been considering in the past, and hopefully we'll get that in the future. It'll be a nice, fun world when you're able to motion capture your dog running around. I can only imagine the issues with that, but yeah, it'll be a challenge, depending how energetic your dog is, I guess. Okay, so Julie has a good point here. When I hit 1800 frames, it stops my FBX export. What you want to do is you want to make sure you change your project length. Okay. So one of you guys was asking earlier about is there a limit to the iClone project length or anything like, or the amount of frames in your iClone project? What you want to do is go to project settings here. You can change total frames. I don't remember the highest number, so I guess it's 99,999 would be the total highest number of frames you have in your project. And that's going to be like a huge project. Okay, so that's how you extend your project, and I think I just did that. So now we can go to like how many frames. Okay, so you can see we're at frame 38,000. I'm not sure if it goes all the way up to 999,000, but let's find out. 54,000. Okay, so 54,000, again, that's going to be more than enough time to do anything. You can see how slowly our timeline is progressing along here. That's good. That's probably a good 10 minutes of time. Take it by time. So yeah, time. I don't know what that'd be. That is 15 minutes of time. All right. So if you can't do your stuff in 15 minutes, yeah, it's probably a better way to do that. So yeah, just go to your project settings, Julie, and adjust your project length. Max length is around, oh, so the next guy, Eric, mentioned max length is around 32,000 frames. I think we just proved it's about 50,000 frames or whatever it was. What was it? Oh, we're back in the time. What was I doing here? Time, oh, time units, right? Frames. 54,000, that's right. Okay. Anonymous attendee asks, if you're importing a dog from MyFBX through Exchange, is it better to be standing up in a T-pose? Well, T-poses are used exclusively for biped characters. So if your dog is a biped, like if it's a Goofy, like from Disney's like Goofy or something like that, where he's walking on 2 legs, yeah, put him in a T-pose. That really depends. There's no T-pose for quadruped characters if they're on all 4s, though. So hopefully that's clear for you there. And when you're importing your character, there are T-poses that are available in 3D Exchange. They come with 3D Exchange pipeline. Okay, you can apply those to your characters for specific programs like DAZ, Maya, what have you. Okay, so D asks, is Reallusion working on any direct downloadability to social media? Specifically facial recognition for quick animations, such as Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok? Not to my knowledge. We're not doing direct download for social media at this time. That's a whole nother can of worms that we can't open at this time, unfortunately, for that. So sorry about that, D. So D also asks, when will giant characters be available, such as rock giants from Frozen 2 in Character Creator 3? You can actually scale your characters to like essentially, well, I've never really scaled this character to like giant size, but I know you can scale beyond the actual slider. If you just enter in the value, so your slider goes from 0 to 100. If you enter in a value of like 300, it just actually applies 300 to the character's scale. So I'm not sure if there's a limit on that. I've never really tried it, but yeah, that's the way you get larger characters. As for giant characters, yeah, I would assume that's the best way to do it for now, since we don't have any immediate plans, to my knowledge, to release any giant characters, which means we cannot recreate the Season 8 battles in Game of Thrones or something like that with those giants. Maybe you can try with a Character Creator 3. I'll load it up in the background just so we can experiment and take a look. I've never actually tried that. Okay, so Mike here asks, would you recommend Unreal Engine for creating real-looking scenes while working with green screen footage? Yeah, I think, you know, the shader in Unreal is pretty good, very realistic. You can get very, very photorealistic looking stuff in Unreal Engine. Now, the lighting, obviously, when you're working with green screens, lighting is quintessential. Like most of the stuff that's done in movies like the Avengers and stuff like that, most of the acting is done in front of green screens. And Unreal Engine is closely approaching the quality of visual quality that you can find in movies like that. So I think you can do it. Like, I've never done stuff at that level myself, like AAA quality studio stuff. I've never been involved in projects like that personally, not on the visual end anyways. And I think that stuff like that is really arbitrary. You know, it's depends on what sort of effects you're going for and the specific situation. But I'm trying to think of someone I've seen using green screen with Unreal, but I can't really put my finger on it right now. But yeah, you can do that, to be honest, with you, Mike. If you get the correct lighting and the correct shaders, you can get some really, spanking good looking effects in Unreal Engine, or good looking visual results rather in Unreal Engine. Okay, so here's the inevitable headshot question. So Paul asks, since the faces now look incredible in headshot, will Reallusion now turn their attention to improving hair and visemes? Well, Paul, that's the question for the development team that I can't really, because they're not here with me right now, obviously. I can't really answer that specifically, but hair is one issue that we've been, working on improving, and there is going to be new hair content packs in the near future here as well. We got a lot of cool hair stuff coming up in the pipeline. Visemes, I can't really say. I haven't heard anything about that. So, question here from Solomon. Is it possible to save and close a project in Unreal Engine, later come back, load it, and reconnect LiveLink with new mocap, update the characters? Yes, definitely. So if you're tired of working, you don't have to keep the LiveLink constantly on. Let's just get to this CC3 thing a little later. You don't have to keep the LiveLink on. You can close down both projects, whatever. The only important thing is that you keep the naming convention correct. So you can see that in the LiveLink tab down here, you can see the subjects that I have that are imported in from iClone, okay? And the first one is outfits_dh_Kevin. So what you want to make sure, and here's our editor active camera and other camera that I imported. I didn't know I imported in Jade. Oh, she's in the LiveLink, but she's not transferred over yet. Okay, so and all of your iClone content, by the way, will go into an RL content folder. You can see outfits Kevin right here and the camera right here, and Jade when I transfer her over. So when the LiveLink is activated, you need to go over to what's the question again? Oh yeah, it's possible to save. Just make sure the names are exactly the same. Okay, so outfits DH Kevin here, and in iClone, it also has to be outfits_DH Kevin here as well. Okay, just keep that in mind. So the naming conventions have to be the same. Make sure all the naming is the same, and you're good. You can load up any project. Okay. And when you reactivate the LiveLink, you can deactivate it or reactivate it. Okay, so well, okay, I'm not going to demonstrate it. It's pretty simple. Your character will pop back into the position that he or she was in. I'll show you really quickly here. I kind of already showed you, but and again, those tutorials, highly recommend checking out those tutorials from Eddie Christian. Those will kind of demonstrate everything in it. I think, whoops, we need to load up iClone here. Yeah, too much stuff running around now. Now he's in like this pose, Michael Jackson pose or something. So if I deactivated that, pop, in the middle, he's going to pop back into the regular A pose position, and pop, he's going to pop back into the Unreal position right here. Okay. So pretty simple stuff. All you have to do is just use the link activate and deactivate. Let's see if our scale question here works with our character in Character Creator 3 here. Let's go to morphs and what is it, size? Body size. Oh, nope. Come on, what is it here? Scale, I think it's scale, not size. Character scale, that should work. There we go. There's your giant character. I think, that's pretty big. If we took this character into Unreal, where's our origin here? can't see the, that's only in 3D Exchange. But you can see character scale 100, character scale 200. Bam. Right. How high can we go? I don't know. 600. Yeah. Okay. So really no limit. I don't think you want a character more giant than that. All right. So you can just take your character scale and adjust it. And then you get your wee little Hobbit characters and a character scale of, negative whatever. Okay. That solves that question. Next one. Lenny mentions here, I'm using Curve Editor and converting dancing motions into ice skating. Cool stuff. Yeah, Curve Editor is really good for that, that sort of stuff. It's a quintessential motion tool. If you're a professional animator, you need to get the Curve Editor plugin. Otherwise, you're going to be really limited in what you can do, especially in particular for the transform position of objects and characters. I find it's not so commonly used for edit motion layer, for the layer editor, motion layer editor, but for transform positions, very, very important. Okay, movements from one point to another. Saleh asks, I would like to know if there are any plans on adding a motion blend feature into iClone. Mirror option. I would also like a mirroring option for motions that would help mirror many scenarios. A motion blend feature. I'm not sure what you mean by a motion blend feature. Maybe you'd have to specify that. I mean, you can blend clips into each other in the timeline. If you can kind of maybe clarify a little bit on what exactly you'd like to do with that, Saleh, that'd be great. We do have mirroring options for motions. Not for motion clips, I don't believe. Not that I've never done a mirror. It should be able to flip your character, maybe. I haven't done that in such a long time. Note that is a Cartoon Animator 4, so nothing mirror. I don't know how to mirror in iClone for motion. I'm not sure if you even can. Interesting conundrum. I've never actually tried to mirror anything, character motion in iClone, so yeah, it is interesting. I think there's probably some way to do it that I've never tried. So sorry, I can't really answer that for you there, Saleh. Yeah, maybe you can email me and I'll get that question to you or answer to you a little bit later on. Naima asks, will there be multiple GPU rendering in iClone in the future? Yeah, we're hopefully going to integrate that into the future because, the requirements of all this stuff are getting like higher and higher. So to be able to integrate GPU rendering into iClone, multiple GPU rendering rather into iClone, that's something that we're working towards. Again, the ETA for that, I can't really see at this point, but we are aware of the need for it, and we are working towards getting that integrated into iClone in the future. Okay, so Antoine asks, can iClone handle a crowd of characters imported to UE4 through LiveLink, more than 25 people? That's going to be a challenge. Now, there's a tutorial that, did I do it? I'm not even sure who did it. I think it was Eddie again. No, sorry, Adolfo Navarro did this. Antarius did this one. And this was a tutorial that was about, this is one of the newer tutorials. It should be on the Learning Center. This was one about optimizing your characters. It should be in this first section here. It's one of the newer ones anyways. And it's basically, he shows the process of using Character Creator 3 to really take down the characters using a level of detail. Again, that's what CC3 pipeline, you can adjust the level of detail for your character. It might be in masterclass. This one, yeah. Okay, so this is a good one to check out. Adolfo Navarro, really good user, a highly talented user of iClone that's been with us for quite a while. I'll share this to you guys here as well. So So in this one, he shows how to, the best way to optimize your scene for using multiple characters. And I'll throw this in the chat window as well. Zoop. Okay. Let's get to the next question there. So Antoine, I'd recommend checking out that tutorial that I just posted there in the webinar chat window. Okay, so Lenny, you mentioned that your motion, you have an ice skate attached to your character's avatar. The skate does not rotate properly with the avatar. That could be a number of problems, and I can't really troubleshoot it live right now. It could be you need to attach the skate to the avatar's foot. It could be misplaced if your avatar includes the skate as part of its skeletal mesh. Lots of different things, lots of different troubleshooting you would have to go through there. Excuse me. Okay, next one. Albert, again, I use RTX 2080 Ti, and I'll still suck below 30 most of the time, even in an empty Unreal scene. Yeah, I'm not sure what to say. I mean, we are still trying to improve as much as we can. All this stuff. I can't really say much in terms of that, but this is our first iteration of the Unreal Live Link plugin for iClone, and it's only going to improve from here. And I mean, that stuff is like, I'm not really technical with all that stuff, all the cards and everything like that, and all I know is various techniques you can use to conserve resources on your computer. And again, that's a troubleshooting question, so I can't really troubleshoot it much live on the air. Okay, so Eric found the current max frame rate. I finally got to your comment there, Eric, or question. The current max frame rate is 54,000. Okay, so answered that live through my stumbling through the project settings. Okay, so Julie asked the question, the mocap we saw today was the equipment list. What is the equipment from them to do it? I believe in the email that we send out to you guys, we will be providing a link to the Noitom website where you can find Perception Neuron Studio. Daniel did show it earlier. Neuron Studio. You can probably just Google it. I mean, yeah, there you go. Google solves all our problems. Check out this. This is the equipment that Daniel used earlier. Now you don't have to use Perception Neuron. There's other, body motion capture stuff that you can use, but one of the reasons I like the Perception Neuron Studio is because of the wireless hand capture that's integrated into the suit, and really good stuff, really good results, and it's not going to break the bank either. So I'll just I guess I can just throw this in the chat window as well. Why not? Or you can Google it. Spend a couple seconds to Google it. Okay, Darja. Question here is, what is the process of applying pre-simulated garments on top of your avatars? Does the clothing look clean and real? How do you adjust sizes? So Darja, for that question, I would direct you to a tutorial that deals with importing OBJ cloth files to your character. And I believe that is here somewhere. Whoops, what did I do? Should be pipeline maybe. This is all iRay stuff, right? Yeah. We do have one, I think it's for Unreal, importing OBJs into your, it's in Character Creator 3. Okay, so some of these will be in Character Creator 3. Let's just Character Creator 3. We're the first one that pops up. What do you know? Again, learn tutorials. All the cloth stuff can be found here. Cloth. So these are the section I would recommend to you there. There is one that I did for Unreal. I think it was Unreal. Or it could have been Unity as well. Anyways, there's one here somewhere where I import an OBJ file. We have a few master classes as well. Is it Sketchfab? Or it could have been Daz. I'll know it when I see it. Gosh. Importing Daz. Import. It'll be one of these. There's a number of them that are like very useful though, but I'll just throw this link in the window, in the chat window again. I don't want to just be searching around fruitlessly for this tutorial that I definitely know exists. It does exist, I promise that. Okay, so Jet Black asks, how can you ZBrush character creator 3 characters or add 3D scan characters for facial and body mocap? Yeah, so we have a whole ZBrush pipeline that's available. Actually, in the tutorials that I just sent you, there's this whole ZBrush section, I believe, down here. Did I miss it? Yeah, the GoZ pipeline right here. So Jet, for you, this section here of the learning resources will be really important. The ZBrush pipeline. We have a plugin for that just takes you directly to ZBrush back and forth. I'm not really familiar with that, to be honest. I'm not a modeler, but yeah, check out those tutorials. My good buddy Chuck has done those for you. Okay, another question from Ahmad. We're on the home stretch of questions here. Good Lord. Okay, I need the animation. Facial animation exporting to Unreal. I need the animation as an FBX file, not sequencer data. So export the full body and facial animation as an FBX and import into Unreal Engine. Everything is fine except that some of the facial morphs are messed up and do not exist, like the right eye blink morphs and the mouth is all messed up. Is there a healthy way to export the animation as an FBX to Unreal and get the exact same animations you get in iClone? Yeah, you shouldn't have a problem. That might be something that you want to forward to our customer support team, because it's very technical kind of troubleshooting, and they can report that. It may be some kind of bug. So Ahmad, what I would recommend doing is filling out a customer support form and getting in touch with them. Is it maybe some sort of bug you're dealing with? It may be a specific character. However, when you're exporting with FBX, yeah, just make sure you have all that. There's a whole number of different things that can go wrong when you export if you don't have the right settings. So maybe you need to give us a bit more of a walkthrough process of your export, of what you're doing for export, the options you're using and everything like that. I can't really answer that much live on the air here, because again, that's a very time-consuming kind of question there. Okay, so Jet again asks, is there a way of getting my 3D scan characters into iClone? Your characters need a rig, obviously, so ensure that your characters are all rigged. 3D scanned characters might just be an OBJ. I'm sure you're aware you need a rig to animate the character. So if they have a rig, a standard like 3ds Max biped rig or a Maya Human IK rig, you can import them in. And if they have facial bones, you can set that up again. All that stuff is done using 3D Exchange. Okay, so Darja again asking the best way to apply clothing from OBJ. Now that tutorial is definitely in here, Darja. So if you spend a little bit of time looking for it, it's definitely in here. It's importing OBJs. I just couldn't find out. I probably skipped it somewhere, but it's in one of these things for sure. One of these sections here. I'm not sure if it's Insta LOD. Nope. Sketchfab. Ah, here you go. Creating clothing from OBJ files. So it's the Sketchfab section. It's always the last section that we check here. So this one here, creating clothing from OBJ files. These three are basically very important when you're importing your own clothing files from whatever program you're using. Okay, so Okay, so I answered that one already. Eric asks, does iClone dynamic hair export to Unreal Engine or Unity? The hair stuff, again, that's going to be using Alembic physics simulation stuff. So that's a whole nother can of worms at this point. Okay, so Faith-Based Games asked, there's a clipping in the thigh area of UE4. It's not in iClone. Is there an easy fix for that? A clipping of the thigh area in UE4, but not in iClone. That again would require a lot of troubleshooting. It really depends on the type of character, the rig of your character. Some rigs have twist bones, others don't. So that might be a twist bone issue. It could be just an Unreal glitch, Unreal issue. Yeah, I don't know. Again, sorry for kind of a non-answer there, but a lot of these questions require, some in-depth troubleshooting that I can't really do at this point here. But you can always email me later on at kai@reallusion.com there. Okay, so Toshitaro asks, tell me about the old Connect and the new Connect Azure. Well, we don't really have updated support for the new Connect Azure as of yet. And we've kind of, we're not updating our support for the previous Connect. So I can't tell you much about Connect support right now. The Connect Azure, if there is enough demand for it, I believe we can probably put a gear profile in there. So if we have a demand for Connect Azure gear profile for Motion Live, make sure that you let our support team know at our forums as well. If you guys have any wishful features that you want to be included in future updates of iClone, make sure you go to forum.reallusion.com here, and there's a section you can go to wishful features for whatever product you're using. Let's see here. We'll see iClone, for example, wishful features for iClone. I'll just throw this in the chat window. Okay, so any wishful features you'd like to be included in future iterations of iClone, please put that in in the wishful features section of the forum there. Okay. George mentions here, I got a few problems when exporting BVH files from Access Neuron to iClone. In 3D Exchange, the animation seems fine. Once I sent it over to iClone, there was some weird thumb behavior. Okay, so thumb behavior. If you are recording the file in Access Neuron, so you've already recorded it in Access Neuron and sent it over to iClone. Again, the forum would probably be your best bet on that. I haven't personally heard of that issue, but you can also get in touch again if it's a bug issue, like a technical issue like that. Get in touch with our customer support, and they should be able to do some troubleshooting with that. But I haven't experienced that myself, because normally what I do is I just basically do what Daniel did earlier, is I record directly from Perception Neuron into iClone. I don't import the BVH separately. That's just the pipeline that I've used. So sorry about that, George. Yeah, that's a kind of a technical problem there. Okay, so Julie says, after importing to Unity, my character jumps to a new position as soon as I start to play. Am I not syncing up with world 000 or something? So I assume this is for an animation that you're exporting from iClone. When you're exporting the animation from iClone, in both iClone and 3D Exchange, make sure that your character's transform position is zeroed out before you export it. Okay, that's the issue that I've had before, and that's generally a very simple solution for that. Yeah, make sure it's at the 000 in both iClone and Unreal and 3D Exchange before you export. So Eric mentions here the licensing restrictions with Unreal Engine and Unity. Depending on your use case, it could make a difference in the costs involved in publishing your content. Yeah, that really depends on Unreal and Unity. They all have different regulations when it comes to charging indie studios and stuff. We'll be making some announcements in the near future regarding all that stuff as well. Okay, so Ramirez asks, how can I create hair in CC3? You don't really create hair in CC3. You'll create that in a modeling program. CC3 is mostly used for character customization and assembly. In terms of creating from scratch, you'll want to use something like ZBrush or a 3D Coat. Saleh asks, let's see, blending the legs of one motion and the arms of another motion, for example. Okay, so blending the legs of one motion, the arm of another. Okay, yeah, so this is kind of hard to do. Let's see, the way that I would do that, the arm, if I have leg motion on one character and I want to put the arm motion of another character onto that character. Let's see what I do. My brain's kind of fried now. We're going like over 2 hours on this webinar. If you're using the motion layer, rather the motion puppet tool, you can do something like this. Go to your animation tab, oops, modify, and motion puppet. This is one way you can do it, but then you're limited to the motion puppet animations. If you're using clips, it's a little bit different. You can remove animation from one point. So let's see, if I go to mask over here, I can mask out like my legs. And oops, let's actually mask out my upper body here. Come on, you. So let's have our character, oops, oh, we only masked out one leg. Okay, oops, let's take it this one. So here's our character doing the Gangnam style dance while just kind of, I think maybe that's what you mean there, Saleh. So you can do something like this. You can have our character doing the Gangnam style dance while moving. But yo, who's gonna mess with me? Look at this. I can Gangnam style. All right, so there's angry walk down the street, and you exaggerate that. Yeah. All right, so yeah, that's the one way you can do it. Another thing you can do is if you want to remove animation from one part of your character, right here I can go to this point here, and I can go to right click and remove motion from, say, my character's left arm, for example. And it's going to remove the character's motion from the left arm. Let's see, the left arm will remain stationary. Oh, nope, that was a different character. We use that for Kevin. Oops. So his arm is just staying there in the same position. And yeah, not doing anything. All right, anyways. There's a lot of different ways you can mask out things and remove motion from different areas. But again, there's a lot of techniques that can be done. And I don't really have time to answer all those things. Hey, look who it is. It's Lucas. What is your preferred pipeline? Live link to UE4, export to FBX. Let's see. Definitely live link, because live link is just easier with the character import. It does it all for you. I'll show you a quick example here. If I have my character, let's take Jade into my Unreal project here. If I go to Unreal Live Link and I just make sure she's linked up, we can transfer her over. So we just have her selected and just go transfer. Oops, deselect this for now. Make sure she's selected and just transfer over. What it's going to do is it's just going to automatically do a transfer of the character into Unreal. And that's going to be, you're going to take the animation of the character, all the textures, all the materials and everything like that. All the shaders are going to be applied automatically. And this process only takes like a minute or two. It should only take a minute or two. I may be doing a lot of resource intensive stuff elsewhere, but yeah, like character creator 3 can be closed down. Yeah, so this window pops up here, and this will basically do all the processing that you need when you're bringing the character into Unreal Engine. And she'll pop up like right away in Unreal Engine once this thing gets going. And yeah, then everything's done. Basically, it automatically creates the folders for you. So once this starts going in Unreal Engine, there'll be a new folder pop up under RL content here. And this will be called Jade, I guess, 0.jade. And again, it'll basically set up the blueprint for you to live stream your character, motions from iClone into Unreal Engine, and all that stuff. I'll just kind of go into the next question here while it's processing that. It normally only takes a minute or two. And then I'll show you. So George mentions here, when it comes to character creation in CC3 for Unreal, I often use the GoZ process for body adjustments to refine more details. Will there be any chance in the future to get an A pose in ZBrush? Currently, what I know is just exporting T pose. Unfortunately, George, you're asking the wrong guy for that one. I am kind of a dummy when it comes to ZBrush. And all I know is really the T pose, aside from Unreal Engine. But that's something to maybe put in additional features, or I can pass it on to the development team. If you want us to pass anything on to the development team, just kind of put that in the feedback form that we're going to send out to you guys via email. I mean, put that in, get 10% off the content store. It's a win-win, you know, can't go wrong. Yeah, if the A pose is something that you're more familiar with in the GoZ pipeline, we can try to integrate that if there's enough demand for it, for sure. So you can see all the stuff that's going on on the screen right now. This is all, yeah, so I'll just cancel, ignore this stuff. Don't worry about that since we're kind of running a lot of things at once. But all this stuff that's happening in the command editor window here, this is stuff that that we've done previously, so you don't have to in the future. Okay. And yeah, generally you want to try and do one character at a time, but that's all right. Okay, so Julie had a question kind of more relating to Noitom again here. The equipment list question was about which version from them, not so much their website. Yeah, they were demoing the studio setup. So Daniel kind of explained they were demoing the new Perception Neuron studio setup. Yeah, if you've been using like a Kinema with HTC Vive sensors, Julie, I mean, this Perception Neuron Studio is going to be a huge leap forward for you. I think it's tried and tested. I've used a number of different setups in the past, like I've used Rococo, Perception Neuron, Xsense, and everything. They all have their benefits and drawbacks. It really depends exactly what your needs are and what your budget is, most importantly, because the budget can vary very widely. You know, anywhere from like $1,500 to like tens of thousands of dollars for something like OptiTrack or other stuff. Okie dokes, let's just close this down. Charles asks, how do you insert a keyframe in the timeline in iClone? That's an easy one. Anywhere in the timeline that you want to insert a keyframe, you just double click. I think I might have just frozen something. So it's compiling shaders right now. Yeah. Yeah, basically I can just tell you, just double click anywhere in the timeline and it'll add a keyframe. It depends on what sort of motion editing you're doing or material editing. You can also set keyframes for materials. One pro tip is that everything that you see, now that iClone's whited out here, any parameter that you see in iClone in the modify panel or whatever, any parameter that you see with green text means you can add keyframes to it. Okay, that's just kind of an overall universal truth. Okay, so a universal point for all of the keyframeable stuff. Okay, so the last few questions here. One question from Mick. In order to repeat today's motion capture demo, unfortunately, Mick, I can't really click on the links that you put in the Q&A panel, so I can't really see that. So D asks, why does leap motion not really work that well? I've tried everything, but the arm moves erratically, so I've abandoned it. With leap motion, I mean, it's a very inexpensive solution for sure. When you're combining leap motion with other hardware, like the body capture hardware, there's something that you need to do specifically. And I obviously I don't have leap motion with me here, so I can't really demonstrate that. But there is a way you can fix that. The arms moving erratically. There's a little kind of, maybe put it in the forum. It's somewhere in the forum, I remember. A little setting that you can use to adjust the conflict between leap motion's forearms and your body motion capture forearms. There is a way to solve that though, D. So I'd give it another shot. Is my suggestion here. Yeah, it is indeed a marathon performance that we're going through here. So Mick, any questions about perception neuron stuff? You'll probably have to direct to their website because I'm not super familiar with their hardware. I mean, I'm familiar with it, but all the pricing stuff that you're asking about, I can't really answer that because I work for Reallusion, not for perception neuron there.
So I can jump in real quick.
Oh,
Kai,
yeah. Okay, you're still here.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here, guys. So any questions that we might have missed out, just send them to contact@neuronmocap.com, and we'll get back to you next day. So I just wanted to, Kai, is it cool to show my screen just to show people that iClone does support finger tracking as well? I know we did the jump just to show.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Go for it.
Okay. So yeah, just to show like the whole solution, let me do a quick share. And so just, all right. This is, let's wait for him to give me the.
I gotta make you the host, I guess, right?
Yeah, just to show him real quick, and then we can jump back to them, to your screen.
Go for it.
Okay, so let's go into, here we go. All right, so can everybody see me? Can you see me?
Yep, all good.
Okay, let me make sure that all this is disabled so you guys don't see the chat. All right, so this is me here. Let's check out the finger tracking. I can touch every finger that I want to. So that's awesome. That's, even I get chills about seeing this. And I do have the face capturing enabled right now. Probably not the best setup right now because I am streaming with the webinar right now. But you can see my face capturing.
Oh yeah, there we go.
It's so creepy. Cool, but that's awesome. You guys can get that and put that to your character to use. So I'll hand it over to Kai.
Yeah. All right. So let's get back to the questions, I guess. How many questions do we have here? Okay, we got okay, so Mick, hopefully that answered your question there. Aside from that, we only have one more question. We're like a record 94 questions. Holy smokes. Okay, so cool. George, last question here asks, can you rig your custom weapons in 3D Exchange and make some ego shooter animation? Just exporting out the hand motions for Unreal Engine 4. Custom weapons. Yeah, you can bring custom weapons from 3D Exchange for sure. Make some ego shooter animation. Yeah, that can be done for sure in either iClone or Unreal, or just exporting out the hand motions for UE4. I think maybe you're asking to export the hand motions out separately. And again, that would require masking out different parts of the body. which that process is a little bit complicated, but yeah, so I won't really go through that right now. That would need to be done mostly in Unreal, I think. So sorry about that, George. It'd be kind of a complicated process, but I believe you can do that for sure. It just, if you want to do the hand motion separately, what I would recommend doing is capturing it in layers. So again, like one thing that you can do is, oops, when you capture stuff, you can capture in layers. So you can do you can like record one run through of your character's body animation, and then go back to frame 1, and then record the same thing for the like hand animation. I'll show you just a quick example of what I'm talking about. If you do want to record all that stuff separately, again, I'll use my direct puppet here to show you. This is just a tool in iClone that's really simple and easy to use. So this is direct puppet, where you can use real-time mouse movements to to record movement on your character. Probably want to use rotation instead of movement for the head. So we can have our character look around like this. Okay, if I want to record that, let's go ahead and record. Like that. Should look around. And back to normal. Press space. Okay, so we recorded that animation like this. Okay, make sure we have her selected. There you go. Okay. Okay, so then if I wanted to layer on top of that, I can go ahead and use the, where did my stuff go? Oh, I have, okay, never mind. Now if I want to layer on top of that, I can move her torso. This is stuff I do for if I want to really quickly make an eye motion for like an NPC or something, and I want to make it sort of unique. Then I'll just do rotation, and for the torso, you can see I can slightly move her torso. And it's just some very, very subtle natural movement here. Okay, so then I just go ahead and record. Okay, and obviously her head normally wouldn't be moving that fast. And then I can go back again to the beginning, and I can record like the hand. Maybe we'll move the hand around. We'll probably try and move the hand, screen-based movement. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to do this too much, but I can record. And again, not the most ideal tool for using the hand motion, but again, and I'm just using my mouse movement. So what I did is I just did 3 layers of animation, and I have this, separately. And, that's what I mean, kind of layering animation on top of each other. That's just a general workflow that I would normally go through. Okay, so we don't have the alumni suite here available, unfortunately, Charles. So yeah, Peter mentions here direct puppet messes with the reach target tool for sure. I don't recommend combining those together. Direct puppet has fairly limited uses, but it does have some very, very good uses for certain scenarios. One of those scenarios that I do not recommend using it with is the target tool, or is the reach target tool for sure. Because basically what it does is it just kind of embeds all the animation into this one single motion clip here, and it's hard to modify and get out. This part here, if I wanted to get rid of that little jitter, for example, just break my clip, break it over here, and oops. And then take out that middle part where her arm goes backwards, and just blend it like this. Click and drag, and there we go. All right, so we don't have that part where her arm goes like very far back into the distance there. Okay, cool. I think we're pretty much done, guys. We're gonna just sign off. That's question number 99 answered. Yeah, again, just as a reminder, we do have our Black Friday sale for you guys. So check out the content store. All the Black Friday stuff is all set up for you there, up to 92% off. So well worth checking out. Certain content's going to be cheaper than you'll see it all year. If you have any upcoming projects to work on, definitely take a look, because you're going to get some killer deals there. Now I believe there is a coupon code that we're sending out for Noitom as well. So that should be sent out in the email, I believe. And again, we did record this for posterity, so it'll be on the internet forever. And feel free to pop by our YouTube channel. I believe it should be on the YouTube channel at some point. And yeah, again, thank you so much, everyone, for attending. It was a pleasure to have you guys all with us here. And a lot of you stayed here till the end of the 2-hour webinar here, 2.5 hours now. So thanks for attending, everyone. And hopefully wherever you are in the world, you have a nice morning, good evening, good afternoon. And we'll see you in the next tutorial or webinar, whichever comes first. All right, so adios.